I'd like to welcome you to the Hartsville Trousdale County Water Sewer Utility Board meeting. I'd like to open our meeting and to begin our meeting. We have something that's not on the agenda this evening. We have a gentleman that we have quite a few people in the audience, and Mr. David Byrd, you're here, is that correct? With the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. He's asked to make a presentation to present before the board, and we've offered to give him to see if he could wrap it in 5 minutes. So if you could give us about 5 minutes, and if you will make yourself welcome to the podium right over here to your left or right, my right, and welcome. Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Stand by just one moment, Mr. Byrd. While she's doing that, if we could go ahead and just take a moment and do our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance while we're waiting, if that's okay with you all. So, Mr. Jewell, if you'll lead us with our invocation, we'll all stand. Please bow your heads.
Bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, we pause now to give you thanks for this day and for the opportunity at life itself. We're blessed beyond measure, and we need to always acknowledge that and acknowledge you in everything that we do. We're thankful for all that meet here. We're thankful for being able to do the business of the community. We ask that we do it in a way that's pleasing to you and pleasing to the people that we represent. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. I'd also like for us to go to the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll all turn to the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all.
All right. Hey, perfect.
It's
Well,
all yours.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And I'll be brief, but my name's Kevin Byrd. I'm with the Tennessee Association of Utility Districts, and I coordinate an apprenticeship program in the water industry. And the town of Hartsville is a participant in that training program. They have a participant in our water treatment specialist program and our wastewater treatment specialist program. And tonight we would like to recognize those two individuals for their efforts with presenting each of those $2,000 scholarships to go toward the related technical instruction that accompanies this apprenticeship. These awards are made possible by Tennessee Association of Utility Districts and Hawkins Chemicals. So we'd like to thank Hawkins Chemicals for their money that we're able to disperse into these communities. But we'd also like to thank the board, Tommy McFarland, Penny Sutherland, for their leadership and their insight to bring a program like this to their community and build for the future of their community. And I'd like to applaud all of you guys here in attendance, but especially these two young men who are going to receive these scholarships tonight. So I'd like to present these to Jesse Proctor and Carlton Reese. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you very much.
Jesse, Clifton, thank you very much for your dedication and all that you've given for this. Appreciate you. Penny, you didn't get a thank you for doing this as well. I know it's an amazing opportunity for everybody. Mr. Byrd, thanks for coming this far. We appreciate you doing it. We'll go back to our agenda. Next order of business is our roll call and determination of quorum. We have two that are out. We have Todd Weber, and then we also have Stephen Chambers. Both are out, which means we do have a quorum. That means nobody leave until we get our votes in. So, if you have to cut something short, let us know how much longer we have, if you will, please. So, and I'll just try to make this as swift as possible since, because we have a lot to go through. The next order of business we have, unless Miss Mary, since I just mutilated your thing on the agenda, do you need anything else off that? Is that good? Okay. The approval for our June 2022 meeting minutes are in your packet. You received those? Yes, Mr. Jewell?
Motion to approve as written.
I have Jewell with our motion, first motion. Do we have a second on the floor?
I second the motion to approve the minutes.
Ms. Stafford, as a second, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for our June 2022 meeting minutes. Are approved. That takes us to our June 2022 financial reports. They are included in your packet as well. And I'll let Tommy have the microphone so he can go through those with you.
Well, on the budget summary, we ended the year with a 4.32%. That's counting your grant money, and then without grant money, we ended with a 2.42% revenue, positive revenue for the year. So this will be your last of the whole year's this budget year report right here. And next month we'll have the water audit prepared for y'all to look at too. But if y'all have any other questions, that's all I had.
Anyone have any questions for Tommy on the financials or any comments? What's the movement of this body? There's not any questions. If we could move forward with the financials, is there a movement on the body for financials?
I make a motion that the financial report be approved if there be no questions, corrections, or errors found.
Ms. Stafford is first motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. White. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries for the June 2022 financial report. Thank you. Our next order of business is going to be our water loss report. Yeah, that is included in your packet. If you'll remember, that's your colored document. Tommy, if you'll take the microphone for that one, please.
Yeah, this month it's down a little, 32.8%. We do have the meters ordered for the water plant where we talked about getting new meters in there that hope will help cure some of these numbers and get some of them straightened out. But we also been fixing quite a few leaks. We've fixed numerous service lines and we're looking for a leak now. We were planning on going out tonight, but if the weather don't hold out, we'll have to put it off. But we have been fixing quite a few leaks also. Mostly services, some holes in pipes, but nothing real major yet, but small stuff. And like I say, the meters, I'll keep y'all updated on their arrival date. I don't have a true date on them yet when they'll be here and get them installed. But when I do, I'll share that with you.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. McFarland, Tommy McFarland? Just to recap, I'm noticing you're saying that you do have more leaks private and then also within the lines as well. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah, we're still looking for a pretty good sizable lake out in the, I think it's in the Suffolk College area. It's not showed, it's not able to be seen. It's we think it's going down some rock somewhere. We're trying to locate it. We were going out tonight to do some testing to see if we couldn't narrow it down. If the weather permits, we may try to, but we'll do it tomorrow night. If not, we're gonna get it found and figure it out. We installed a meter that helps us to really troubleshoot this. We installed another zone meter on Pierce Bend, which will help us find this.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Y'all stay safe. The next order of business we have on the agenda is number 8, engineering report from Mr. Evan White for Mid-10 Engineering.
SRF, Tommy spoke to him. I think they told Tommy that they're gonna want y'all to change your rates to get the 2.25 million. At this point, I don't think Tommy's been told what that's gonna be. So we're still waiting. The 20-year master plan, I didn't want to give y'all a draft. So the final copy, I'm days away from that being done. We've just now got, of course, 2022 June finalized, so we can put those numbers in. I plan on getting it to y'all. If y'all don't care, probably a PDF where y'all can review it. And then next meeting, we will actually go over it. That way y'all have, it'll probably get to y'all next week, and that'll give you 3 weeks, to actually look through it instead of trying to present it here and then y'all, not have nothing to look at. So we've come up with about 10% probably for a rate increase. If you want to do it across the board, that's to pay for all the upcoming projects. That is of course, that's up to y'all, but y'all can see all the data behind it. That's a recommendation that come out of the report. We're still waiting on the water meter that was found at the water treatment plant. So that's something we'll just need to keep check on, getting better data and then address the plant. Right now, we've got it looking at 10 years out, 7 to 10. It all depends on those numbers. If the meters, are higher flow, then sooner. But we're trying to take bad data and make a hypothetical solution to it. So, but they're fixed now, and we'll go back and address that every 6 months or so to keep y'all up to date. In the report, you'll see in the report, we've got a timeline in there that tells you, when you need to get started and what all you got to go through in order to keep up with the system. y'all got some water tanks that need to have maintenance done, so we'll be getting, they're in the report too, as far as paintings and coatings and welding and OSHA compliance and things like that. So that's something that's included. I think you had some unserved roads that we put in the report too, so doing one of those per year. But we'll talk more in detail when y'all actually have the report and y'all have had time to review it. Sewer will be shortly behind that. We've separated the reports because it was going to get too complicated to put both systems into one, and we're trying to separate the revenues and the expenses too. So the best that we can, so y'all can understand that. The garage building's still in construction. That's about all we got right now. ARP, we'll be touching base with it soon too on what we'll be doing there, but I'll take questions from any member.
Are we able to see the garage building? So would you be able to do a walkthrough prior to next month's meeting or after next month's meeting possibly,
Sure.
based on the board's availability?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that just for their insight and so they can actually see what it is. And I'd like to even see it before they get moved into it too. So next month would be great if everyone's available. So I'll send an email asking for everyone's best availability, if it's immediately following the meeting or if it's going to be best available right before. Is anybody else have any questions? Sorry, I just kind of jumped in that one. I was a little excited because I want to see what that's. On that 20-year plan, it also shows the, you said your unserviced roads, 1 per year, based on eligibility with compliance for the comptroller's office, not based on what one person just thinks is their importance that lives on that road. Is that right? Because I know we get a lot of phone calls for one person on a road and it's going to cost $6 million to give them service. So
It is based on ranking.
based on the comptroller's ranking.
Well, it's based on ranking period, not
Right. And
not basically if it's feasible. It's based on the top 10 roads in the county that's unserved. So
I do want to take a moment and just remind everybody on the board and that some of us are getting phone calls that there are really a lot of people who are wanting the water down their road, but we've got to make sure that they're eligible for the road, for the water to be on their road first. And we don't know until we get this report back. So we can't promise anybody anything and till we know what the eligibility is. But we will be doing our best to get you all water just as soon as possible. So, and anybody else have anything else? Can we get this in written form? Monthly,
which one?
your report?
Sure.
Okay. Even if it's just an outline of what you're going to talk to us about, that'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate you. We'll go back to our order of business. Number 9, our general manager's report. That's going to bring Tommy McFarland back to the table and the microphone. You want to introduce?
Yep, Mr. Dale Reese is here. He's wanted to speak to the board.
Mr. Reese, sometimes it takes a little delay. So if you'll just, I'll talk long
Okay.
enough to get.
Am I on? My name is Dale Reese. I live at 345 River Street in Hartsville. And I think I came to the board maybe a year ago, a little over a year ago, about an issue with 2 meters that were put in for agriculture uses and several years ago. and have been used that way ever since. And I brought copies of the bills if, for those 2 meters, if you'd like to see it. I also have pictures on my phone. I did not make any pictures. I got out in the rain a while ago and took those pictures. All I'd really like to know is, where are we on that issue? And perhaps someone can fill me in, since it has been some time since I was here before. Would
Nobody's
anyone-
grabbing a mic, so I'll take over if that's okay.
Would anyone like to see a copy of the bills or any pictures?
Anybody on the board like to see him? So we are, just to fill you in, I apologize that the speed of government often is much slower than than you wish that we would be. But we went back and we have regulations that are in-house. And so we've gone back and had hired a team, an attorney, and they have been working diligently to update those regulations so that we could help you in this request. So tonight we have before us in our packet, my hope is that this committee, and my hope with you speaking with this committee, will educate them on the importance of some of the reasons why we need to move forward and update these regulations. And one of those is your service. Right now, we don't have a service that's necessary agricultural in the city. It's rural, and it's used for agricultural purposes because it doesn't have sewer out in the rural area. So I have a couple, so we have it written in the new regulations that you would be eligible for it, but I do have so we're almost there for you. We're closer than you haven't seen it, and it's in ink for the first time. So, hopefully we'll be somewhere by the end of this meeting tonight. If not, we'll be back next meeting and we'll discuss it some more. But I do have my questions for you, and thank you so much for coming to the meeting. They are, my understanding is that you have water and you're in the city of Lebanon, city of Hartsville, and you are being billed water and sewer both, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
And then with that, you want to use this for agricultural purposes, because you stated at the last meeting you attended that one was by your barn. Is that?
That's correct. It
Okay.
has been used for agriculture ever since I've owned the property, which goes back to the early 80s or late 70s or early 80s.
Okay. So the next question I have is, and this is personal, but this is going to help us determine if we need to make a vote tonight or if we need to take it back. Is your agricultural use do you have a tax exempt form?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, the way we have it written right now, it's not determined exactly what kind of account you're going to go to. So you might be residential, you might go to a non-residential, you might go to a rural agricultural. We're not sure how that's going to be worded yet, because we need about 30 days to play with figuring out the procedures of how this is going to be implemented. We've got the law and the written completed. Now we need to work on the procedures. And so thank you for being here and letting me pick your brain on this. And with that, I wanted to make sure that when you come to the water department about those two, once this is all enforced, I'm going to recommend you bring your tax exempt form.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because then you should be, I didn't say should, I should say you may possibly be eligible for your water to be tax exempt. As long as it's not attached to the house. It has to be completely agricultural use, and it has to be attached with that, and it has to be identified as agricultural only. So we're trying to work in the best interest for those using it for agricultural and for their benefits. And this is basically progress in action. So if this doesn't pan out for someone, we're going to be tweaking it again in the future. But right now, this is a great step for both both parties involved between this board, the department, or all three. So so I'm going to recommend to anyone, I think there's multiple accounts, Tommy, in the city. So if we find out that there's others that do use the water and not the sewer, and they come to you and they're wanting the sewer taken off, we're trying to figure out how we're going to if we're just going to remove the sewer, or are we going to, we need to determine, because the department really needs to go in and determine that we know you've used this for 30 days, but someone who just moves in next week, we may not know that it's not. I mean, we know you've not just moved in 30 days ago. We know you've used this for agricultural use for many years, but we don't know about the person who just moved in last week, what their intentions are. So there's going to have to be a policy, or the department's going to have to be able to check up and make sure that this is truly used for agricultural purposes for that luxury to be involved. But the formula and how your account will be may be tweaked, and if you'll just work with us on that, if you will. And I apologize for the delay, but it's taken that long for a very large document to be tweaked, because we didn't just fix your situation. We fixed many situations that needed to be updated and upgraded. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you to the board.
You're
members.
welcome. Thank you for coming before us. We appreciate you and all that you've taught us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great evening. Tommy, I'm gonna give it back to you, Mr. Tommy. Sorry for being informal. Tommy McFarland.
That's fine. That's the next thing on the agenda is the general wastewater ordinance, or the general wastewater regulations for the utility, that what y'all got in front of y'all. I put down a discussion or approval because I didn't know if y'all have enough time to review it or not. It's more than just that one issue. There's like 71 pages in this document, so we worked a long time, other than right here. Penny's put a lot of time in it in the past trying to get it figured out, and but it took getting it to an attorney who knew how to deal with it to get it finalized.
I'm recommending that if we do anything tonight, that we don't place anything in action until September 1st. But if that these changes not go into effect till September 1st, just so you can get the department into and figure out how you all want. I know it's more than just a line item. You've got to figure out how a lot of these things have got to be put into practice. So does anybody else have any questions, comments, or thoughts?
Yeah, was this in the email last week?
Yes, sir. So that
Can I have a little more time to read it? Can we come back to this next month? I hate to do that to people, but
Mr. Jewell, go ahead.
I did look over what I got in the email, and it is lengthy, and I've been making question marks. Not that I think there's anything wrong. I'm just some things that I didn't thoroughly understand. I have to agree with Mr. White. I think we need a little bit more time to try to digest this. My main question is this something that I know in county government, we have to pass things sometimes twice, 2 readings, so to speak. Is this just a one and done, or are we going to have to address this multiple times with a vote?
I'm not, in my experience, no, that's usually a county government, city government rule.
Okay.
I don't, unless y'all have something, unless it's set up in our ordinance says we had to. I don't know of anything in our ordinance says we have to. I can't think of anything in the ordinance that made the utility.
I don't have any reason for thinking that, other than we are county department, and that's the way the county operates. And if it's certainly nothing anywhere that says we need to do that, then I wouldn't think we would need to. But that might be a question that needs to be answered before we do vote on it. I'm, like I say, I didn't see anything that glaringly I was in opposition to at all. I agreed with everything that I could understand. There was just some of it that at the moment reading it. I didn't understand. So I have to agree with Mr. White. I think I'd like a little bit more time to look it over. That being said, I probably shouldn't even say that. I'm not sure I'll even be back next month, but we'll probably will be. Yes, next month I will be. Yes. So, but you know, I didn't, like I say, I'm good with everything that I read, but there was some things I had some questions and, but I didn't, nothing that Tommy can't answer, me and him together, or, you know, at some point in time. I said a lot and didn't say anything, did I?
I think that was on the lines of a second suggestion to hold off. With the first suggestion, I was comfortable to hold off. So I think we hold off and dig into this a little bit more. Sent an email out the other day just to remind y'all that we had received this. You do have an electronic file. Tommy, if you'll send everyone electronic file of it again, fresh ones, just in case it went to their spam or whatever, or just so you can have it at the top of everyone's surface. So we can all look at this in our spare time that we all have so much of. And yeah,
The problem with electronic
that's the
file,
changes. That's the current changes is what that is.
my problem with electronic file is I can read it, but if I have questions or need to make notes, it's hard for me to make notations. Where if I have a hard copy, I can highlight something or circle something or put a note. And so I really like having, I know I'm an old man and I'm old fashioned, but I kind of like having the hard copy to on something like this to try to delve into. But thank you. Electronic copy is helpful to read it for sure, but I have a hard time making notes on it.
Completely understand. I have my notes beside my hard copy as well. So that calls that we will just place this on the agenda next month.
If that's what y'all wish to do. I did make a copy, just the red lettering stuff, just not the whole document, just what he read later is here with you tonight, but I'll get the whole document to you. We'll make a hard copy for all of it, if that's what you need.
This isn't the whole thing.
It's just what was in red writing, what he marked up.
Would you like the whole thing? We'll be, and in all fairness, we should receive the whole thing electronically. And I would recommend we receive the whole thing electronically was going to be my first recommendation. Well, there's 71-page document. And if you'd like a printed copy, if you'll call Tommy's, if you'll call the department, they can print it
This
out
is
for you.
plenty.
You good? So. This is the document that they, oh, well, I told Mr. Reese earlier. So that'll now make it where it'll go to October 1 would be our next date that we're looking to begin this, Tommy, instead of September 1. So,
Okay, that's fine. I wasn't really prepared that y'all would do it tonight, but if you was ready, that's fine.
Is there anything, excuse me, Madam Chair, is there anything in there that I mean, just the red highlighted things is mainly what we're looking at changing. Was there anything that is just terribly different from what we're doing now? Did you have anything in your notes that we could discuss so that we could get a jump on it next month or not?
Some of the red notes, like on the 104 section,
Mhm.
that was some of that stuff over time y'all have decided and was put in there.
Okay,
like the no pressure, you know,
Right.
required hook on pressure
yeah, I
pump.
noticed that in
Yeah.
there. I did,
All-
I
some-
did.
Y'all have decided over time, and we added all that in there to get, and that's where some of that red lettering stuff is at, what
Okay.
y'all have added.
Yeah, I did
impact.
notice that part of it.
I'll be glad to share my notes. If anyone wants to shoot out email with questions or anything, so
Okay.
we're all in the know, you're welcome to do that as well. I appreciate any insight. It did get a little hairy going through the whole thing when I took this position, and I appreciate any other help. That takes us to our next conversation. Tommy and I discussed, I won't speak for a second. You've already approved the bids for the track loader and the excavator. And there's been a situation where the state has changed. I'm just gonna take over, if that's okay. Where the state has changed, where if he puts in for it, the person who's selling it can change their rate within quarterly. Correct me if I say this wrong, because I want to say it so I'll make sure I interpret it properly. So that he can they can change their rate quarterly, and that, but isn't what we approve the price to be. Is that, nope,
Traditionally, you get a price and it's locked down, but because of all the crazy pricing on everything, the state has allowed them to have a little leeway to change it if they have a significant increase. And if you didn't order or didn't put a PO down on time, but I didn't know that was, I always worked it this way where you ordered it when you could and you got it without any changes, but I guess it's the times the way they are, the state made concessions to let them kind of do something different, but, and the price I had him, y'all got a little bit newer version in this packet because I had him to go in and show what the original was, what was added. So y'all, it's broke down for y'all to see the change. And I did argue I called the state to make sure this was legal, and it is legal. I was going to argue with him, make sure he was not treating us fairly, and they allowed it. So it's something they've allowed. And in this process, we upgraded the warranty on it from a 24-month to 60-month on it. Because and the price changes wrote in there what that is too.
How did we plan on paying for this?
Sorry, Mark.
How did we plan on paying for this?
It's goes into depreciation, you pay cash, and it's not gonna be a real big change to the depreciation section. You divide it by I think 15 years, over a 15-year period. It's not gonna hurt the budget in by no means.
Yeah, I ain't worried about the depreciation. We got the cash though, right?
Yes, sir, we got cash.
so with that, we will, you want a reapproval of the bids on file, on record?
Yeah, because they changed, it's probably prudent that y'all know what it is and y'all approve it.
It looks like the track loader went up about 10% and the other one went up roughly 5%. A little less than 5%, more like 4%. If I'm doing my math right. Of course, you're also adding in the extra cost of the additional warranty. So actually the price increase itself
Sorry about that.
wasn't that much, wasn't too bad, but I think, if we're going to do it, we need to do it because it's just going to cost more 6 months from now, 3 months from now, 1 month from now. I'll make a motion to approve the new bids.
Second.
First, Jewel, and a second, White. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of the wage study compensation plan for utility employees did not get in our packet, so I'm gonna ask that that get pushed to the next month's meeting as well. Actually, we have two things getting, don't we have something else that's coming next month that we got pushed for 2 months? And then we just pushed this big since it's not in the packet, will be moving this wage study to the next month.
I will say that the county commission passed on first reading, that for countywide, last night. We'll have a second reading on it next month. It's part of the, our personnel policy, new personnel policy for the, departments that are under those. We're under our own personnel policy, but, it is in the works and it does, as it is now, the different steps are based on about a 2.5% increase. And that would be subject to funds, every year, if that helps.
Do we need to move our meeting? Cause it seems like we're always voting behind what the county's already doing. I mean, it just, to me, it would make more sense if we, like every other board and committee, and then, of course, the final say is with the commission, obviously. It feels like we're doing it backwards, just my 2 cents.
This wage study was what we paid for, what our budget paid for, not what their budget paid for. And I see what you're saying. Completely.
It's not necessarily just this one thing. It just feels like we're always meeting a day after the commission has met. So we're kind of behind. I don't know. I guess it's not really that big a deal. It just, everybody else seems to meet before the commission does. And we're kind of tail end Charlie here. And I do understand, you know, that yeah, I get all that, but it's not just this one particular thing. It seems like there's been other things in the past.
We want to look at the changing the date, so we're the week before. We'll look at, I'll
I
send
would
some
think-
suggestions out.
Would make
On
more
email.
sense to have our business done before the commission. That way, in the future, if there are things that have to come before us that do have to have the ultimate approval of the commission, because the way it is now, they met last night, we meet tonight. Now we got to wait another month.
Full
for their-
month.
I mean, just a thought.
Just a
suggestion.
suggestion.
Tommy buy supper too.
It's fine. Just a suggestion, get with Miss Amy, and because all these other meetings she's scheduling, those, see when it's a good time to do that. I might get an idea from her when a good time would be to do that.
If we, and early enough time that whatever our decisions are made can get on their agenda would be critical as well. So like, I don't know the cutoff date of when something can be put on their agenda. So if it's like the Friday before or 2 Fridays before, so it can get on the work session. So we'll take that into consideration.
I just think in the past when we operated more independently, that it didn't matter, but now that, you know, we are under the county's umbrella, so to speak, I think it would be prudent.
Thank you. Any public,
Typically, we don't have any county meetings set at 5 o'clock. You know, so pretty much any time that we'd want to do that, we'd be through before typically another meeting at 6 or 7 o'clock would be. I know that the first week of the month, there's almost always nothing. Am I correct? And then after the last 2 weeks of the month is when everything really gets filled up and hectic. But I don't see it necessarily. I can see times that it would be beneficial, but It's not like it's an every month kind of thing. Just, I think the bigger question is when's most convenient for all the people that are involved, and try to set it to try to get as much attendance as you possibly can. I personally, I think the 5 o'clock time slot works really well for most all of us. The ones that are working, it gives them time between when they shut down at 4:30 to get here and have everything ready. But the day, long as you stay in that 5 o'clock time slot, I think you wouldn't have much problem with anything.
You're the last one. You got anything? There's no public for comments unless Miss Amy wants to say anything.
I agree with Mark. I think that we should consider changing our times so that we're not falling behind and have to wait a whole month.
As far as scheduling anything, if you want to just pick a day, we can make that the water board's meeting day, just like it currently is. And therefore it's on the calendar. The committees can see that that time's already reserved and you're good to go. As far as getting it on the commission agenda, I try to get the agendas put together with the chair's approval the Thursday before the third Monday. If you want to follow that one. That gives the commissioners time to look over it before a work session and ask any questions of the chair or any other commissioners that they need clarification on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for all your help this evening, Sammy Thomas. If anyone doesn't have anything else, I'll take a motion to be adjourned. A second, and all in favor, we go home.